Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be building a mobile application using React Native and the REST countries API, and it looks like this. So we are going to be getting a bunch of data from the API, and for the first page that we're going to have, we're only displaying the image. We're only displaying the image and then the name of the country, as well as a description if a description exists. And then for the second page, or the inner page that we're going to create, if I click on Nigeria, for example, then it takes me to an inner page. It shows an arrow on the top left, and then it shows the name of the country on the top right, and then some other data, as well as the coat of arms. So this is the API that we're going to be using. It is called the REST countries API, and we're going to be building this out in React Native. So to begin and to speed things up, what I've done is I've created a new Expo application. So using npx create Expo App, and I've called my application countries. And once that executes, then I've opened the countries, the folder, in an instance of Visual Studio Code, which I have right here. So once you follow those steps, then you can see we're going to have an assets folder. We're going to have the node modules and then the app.js and so on and so forth. And the app.js is probably going to be our main file. Now for this project, we are going to build this out, and then we're also going to change the icons as well as the splash screen. So we're going to learn how to do that in this project. And then we are going to be using what is called React navigation to get started with routing, with building routes or screens in our native application. In React Native, they're called screens, but on the web, they're called pages. So we're going to be using React navigation to help us to do that. So the first thing that I want to do is this. I want to first get my application running on my mobile device, because I'm going to be using my physical mobile device as opposed to Android Studio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Ctrl J to open up my terminal. And then once it opens up, then I'm going to say npm start, which is going to start a development server, but it is going to provide me with a QR code that I can scan using my phone, and then I can open it up on my physical device. Now, in order to do this, if you're on Android, then you need an application called Expo Go, which you can get from the Play Store. And if you're on iOS, all you need to do is just scan the QR code using your camera app, and it should open up the application. So let me go ahead and do that. So right here, I'm going to say scan QR code. So scan QR code, and then just point this up right here. And that is going to scan it. And then just give it a few moments to build the JavaScript bundle. And then we're going to be able to see our application, which currently does nothing really except just display some text on the screen that says this. Now I want to go into my app.json file. So in app.json, I want to change this name. Now this name is the name that is going to appear when someone downloads and installs your application. So you want to give this obviously the name of your app. In this case, I'm just going to call this countries. What should I call the countries app? Maybe just something like that. The slug here represents the slug if you're building for the web, but we're not building for the web. So this is technically useless right now. And then we have our icon here, which we're going to change. The user interface is set to light mode. And then the splash screen is right here. And we're going to change this up as well. So this has finished building. And once it finishes, you can see that it now reflects on the screen. So what I'm going to do is I want to shrink this down a bit. So right around here should be fine. And then let me save this file. And then back inside our app.js, let me also shrink this down right to around here, so that I'm able to display my phone here when I am editing the video, so that you can follow along easily. So what I'm going to do is this. The first thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and create a new folder here called screens. Now screens is going to have our internal page, so to speak. So what I'm going to do is inside here, I'm going to create a new file called country singular. So country.js for singular. And I'm just going to say React Native function export. That should be the one. So this is coming, the command that I just did by this is coming from an extension that is called ES7 plus React Redux and React Native Snippets. So you can go ahead and install this extension. It is pretty handy, as you have just seen right here. Now I don't want this to be an arrow function, so let me just say React, what's the function? Is it this one? Functional? No, I want React, I want the first one. There we go. So once you have that, I can go ahead and save this, and inside my app.js nothing changes, obviously, because we are not rendering this file anyway. Now as we continue, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and install React Navigation. And in order to do that, because it's going to be easier, let me place this to be full screen as well as this other one. And then let me go ahead and say Ctrl J to open up my terminal. And we are going to need to shut this down. So let's shut it down. And then inside React Navigation, and the link is reactnavigation.org. What we're going to do is we're going to go into getting started. And the minimum requirements are React Native version to be greater than or equal to the 0.63 version, and Expo and TypeScript, and so on and so forth. Now the first thing that we need to do is we need to go ahead and run this command. So let's copy this command, which is going to install the React Navigation native library. So let's go ahead and copy, and inside here let's paste it in, let it run, and then let's also copy this second one. Now take note of this, we are using Expo, so we need to run this command. If you're not using Expo, then you run this command. Okay, so we are using Expo, so let's go ahead and copy this, and then once this finishes running, we can paste it in. So that is done, so let's paste this in, and there we go. So we can go ahead and now we can skip this part. And then what we need to do is, if you're on iOS, then you need to install this, you need to go ahead and run this command as well. But I don't use iPhone or iOS, so I can skip this part, and then we can also skip the rest of it. But now we can go ahead and begin wrapping our application in navigation container. So the way we do that is the following. We are just going to go inside our app.js, because this is going to be the main file for everything. What I'm going to do is, we don't need this top part, but we need to go ahead and import navigation container. So navigation container from React Navigation Native, and that is basically this part right here. And then we are no longer rendering the view, the status bar, but we are going to be rendering the navigation container. Now once we do that, then we need to go ahead and create our screens. Now how we do that is, we have not installed it yet, but we need to go ahead and say, what's this? We need to go ahead and say import create native stack navigator, and this is going to come from at react navigation / native stack. Now we don't have this installed yet, so let's go ahead and install it. So let's go ahead and open up our terminal once again, and then let's navigate into navigators right here. And then we are going to be using the native stack navigator. Now when you're installing this, it's going to say that we need to install React Navigation Native and its dependencies, but we did that, remember, it's just basically the previous steps that we did. So now we can go ahead and we can run this. So let's copy this, let's paste it here, let's run it, and then we can go ahead and do this. So this is basically the import that I have just typed in, and then the way we use it is we say const stack. So you can call this whatever you want, but it is recommended to call it stack because it is much easier to remember rather. And we initialize this to create native stack navigator, right? And then we are going to say that inside our application, we are going to wrap our screens inside a stack.navigator. So what we're going to do is the following. Once you do that, I'm just going to say const stack is equal to create native stack navigator, like so. And then inside my navigation container, because we need to wrap our application inside navigation container, so don't forget that step. So I'm going to say stack.navigator, and then inside here I'm going to say stack.screen, and then the name that I'm going to pass here is country, and then the component that I'm going to render is the country component, which I created, remember. And then we are going to close that out. Now this is the internal page, right? But I also want my external page to have something. I mean, obviously to show all the countries. So I'm just going to copy this down, copy it downwards. And then what I'm going to do is, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another component here called countries, or another screen rather, countries, and then the component is going to be rendering is called countries. So let me go ahead and do that. So inside my screens, I want to create a new file called countries.js, and then inside here, let me just say React Native function. There we go, and then save it. And then what I can do is when I save this, then let's go ahead and run our application. So npm start, and then I can squeeze this back now, squeeze it around right here, should be fine. And then this also, so right around here. So there we go. Remember that our app was already running, so all I need to do is just hit reload, and just by pressing R it's going to reload it. So press R to reload our application. Okay, so it says here that create native stack navigator. Oh, I typed it wrongly. Navigator has an A here and an A here. So let's save it, and then it should reload it because now our server is running, our development server is running. So it should reload, and now we should be able to see countries. If it works correctly, then we should be able to see countries on the screen. And once again, it says the property countries does not exist. So what did I do in app.js? What did I do? Countries. Oh, I did not import it. Really? I'm making so many silly mistakes. So countries, from countries, save it. And then now we should be able to see some kind of text on the screen. And there we go. Would you look at that? So we have some text on our header bar right here that says countries, and then our actual text here that says countries. Now the text, the bold font here, is dependent on what screen that you're currently on. So for example, if I were to go ahead and let me see, I think pushing this upwards should be sufficient. Let's save it. Oops, cancel, save it. Then we should see country on top, I think. Let's reload just to be on the safe side. And there we go. See that? So it is dependent on the current path that you're on. But for now, I want this one to come first, so I need to push it upwards. Now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to save this, and then inside our countries.js, I'm going to go ahead and we need to begin to import our data from the REST countries API. So what I'm going to do is, just like in the web, we need to import useState and useEffect. And then I'm going to initialize this. So I'm going to say const countries and set countries is equal to useState, and by default is going to be an empty array, which we're going to fill up when we send our GET request. So I'm going to create my function here called useEffect, and then I'm going to add in my callback function with an empty dependency array so that it only runs on the initial render. Why is this? It's because I have a spelling error here. Okay. So inside here, I'm going to say async function get countries. This is just basically now JavaScript. And then let's remember to call our function called get countries. And then inside here, we're going to say, we're going to add in a try catch block. And then for the error, we're just going to say console.error, the error that we're going to get, just in case it fails to send the GET request. So inside here, I'm going to say const response is equal to await fetch, and we're going to be fetching from a URL here. And then the data that we're going to get back, we're going to say const data is equal to await response.json. And then I'm going to say set countries into the data that we get back. So let me go ahead and get this link. So this link should be, where are you? Where is the all endpoint? There we go, here. So I want to get this endpoint, so let's just copy and then paste it inside here, so that is going to get all the countries. Now, just to test whether this is working, I want to go ahead and render the length of the countries, the number of the countries. So I'm going to say countries dot length countries. Now let's go ahead and save that. And then now once this reloads, and remember to put this as the first screen, okay, so that we don't use this one, otherwise we're going to get nothing on the screen. So let that reload. Let's reload it manually. Okay, so there we go. So you can see that we're getting 250 countries. Now let's begin to get this data and display it to the user. So I just want to open this up. So go to this link so that we're able to see the API, and the API is right here once it formats it correctly for me. Just waiting for it to format. There we go. Now we can see that we get an array, and then inside the array we get a bunch of objects, and each of those objects is details about a country, and there are a bunch of details, quite a bit of details. Now obviously we're not going to be using all those details. What I want to do is I want to get the name of the country, and then I want to get the image which is inside, where are you, the flags. So the flags, I want to get the PNG or the SVG image, and then the alt attribute, the alt here is going to be the text that we are going to show for a description of the country. So let's go ahead and do that. The first thing that we need to do is get the flags. So back inside VS Code, we're going to say this. Now instead of rendering view, I'm going to render a safe area view. So safe area view. And then inside here, I'm going to render a scroll view. Now scroll view is what is going to help us to be able to scroll our screen. And you know what? It is much better to demonstrate it. So let me not add it in, and then you're going to see the reason or how helpful it's going to be. So let me just render a view inside here. And then inside this view, I'm going to say countries.map. So countries.map. And then for every country that I get back, then I want to render another view, and then I want to render another view. Come on, there we go. And then this is going to have a key of country dot what is something that is country dot name dot common should be unique for all of them. So country dot name dot common, that is going to be our key. And then inside here, we want to go ahead and render the image component. Now the image component takes in a prop here called source, and because it is a network image, then we need to pass in a URI. So URI, and this is going to be country dot flags dot png, if I'm correct. Let's check. Country dot flags, yes, dot flags dot png to get the PNG image. You can also get the SVG image if you want. It should work the same way. And then inside here, we're going to give this a style of styles dot flag, just because it's easier to remember. And then for this one, I'm going to give this a class of styles dot, let me say, grid. And then for this view, I'm going to say give this a style equal to styles dot grid item. That's looking better. And then below this, we're going to render some text, and this text is going to be the name of the country. So it's going to say country dot name dot common, and then below this we're going to have the text. So the text is coming from the alt here, so the alt, so we need to go into flags and then the alt. So I'm going to say country.flags.alt. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this, and it's going to break a bit because I've just noticed that we did not import image or safe area view. So let's go ahead and say let's import safe area view. Let's also import image and then save it. And then now we are not going to be able to see our image, or the styles also don't exist. So let's go ahead and create our styles. So const styles is equal to style sheet dot create, and then inside here we can just leave it empty for now, but we need to go ahead and import style sheet. So style sheet, save it, and then now we should be able to see the names of the countries, but we're not going to be able to see the images. As you can see, we are seeing the name of the country, and then we are seeing everything else, the details in case it has the alt whatever is specified. Now look at this. If I try to scroll, I can't. See that? I can't scroll. Now the reason why I can't scroll is because we are not rendering a scrollable component. The view and the safe area view is not scrollable. So what we need to do is just cut out this entire view and then place it inside a scroll view. And scroll view does exactly what the name implies. It just creates a view that is scrollable. Now let's go ahead and import this and then save it. And then when it reloads, we should now be able to scroll. We should be able to scroll. There we go. Look at that. Now we are able to scroll. Now, if you take a look at the right, you're going to see that there is a scroll bar, right? I don't want that scroll bar to be visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a prop inside the scroll view that says shows horizontal scroll indicator, and then I'm going to set this to false so that we're not able to see the scroll bar. And I think that gives it a bit more of a native look. Of course, once it reloads, it's going to disappear, but for now, you can still see it. Now, let's go ahead and style out the grid. So for the grid, we're going to say this. So I'm going to say grid. I want to give this a gap of about, 16 to separate out each of the items. And then inside the grid item, I'm going to say this grid item, this needs to have a comma. So for the grid item, what do I want to do? I wanted to add, perhaps I can add some padding all around, maybe a padding of 16 all around. And then below this, let's go ahead and get the image, and the image should be, I give it a style of what? Flag. Okay, flag. So for the flag, I'm going to say this. I'm going to give it a width of 100%, and then I'm going to give it a height of about 400. 400 should be fine. And then I'm going to set the resize mode for the images to contain, so that they display the images correctly without stretching them out or zooming them in too terribly. Now let's go ahead and save that, and now we should be able to see our images because we are now standing out the flag. And there we go. There we go. Would you look at that? Now 400 is a bit too much. Let me disable it just to see what happens. What happened? Okay, that happened. So let me reduce this to 200. 200 should be fine. 200 should be fine. There we go. Yeah, let's work with 200. Now once we have 200, then I want to go ahead and say, let me style out this. This is going to have a style of styles.name, and then this is going to have a style of styles.really, oh come on, .text. So .name and .text. So for the name, I want this to be font bold, so font weight, let's say 800, and then font size, let's say 24, and then margin bottom, let's say about 16. And then for the text, I'm going to say change the color into #444, make it a bit lighter, change the line height to 24, separate out just a bit, and then perhaps change the font size. Font size can remain to be small as it is because it's a mobile phone. Let's save it. Let's see what we have on the screen. And there we go. That is looking nice. Now let's add a bit of margin to separate out the name from the image. So let me change this into margin vertical. Margin vertical. That is going to look nice. Okay. Now once we have that, I want to go into the safe area view and give it a style of styles.container, because I want to change the background color to white. It is grayed out by default. I don't know whether you noticed that, but the background color, I'm going to set this to white and then save it, and then that should be okay. Now once we have that, then I want to go ahead and make these items clickable. So each of these views, they render the image and then the text and then the name of the country. So I want to make each of these clickable. Therefore, instead of rendering a view, I'm going to render a clickable component in React Native called pressable. So pressable, meaning it is pressable. So let's go ahead and import that right here. So pressable, and pressable, we are going to add an onPress event here. Now no longer on click, because it is on click in the web, but it is on press in React Native. So on press, we're going to call in our inline function, and then we're going to say navigation dot navigate now. So dot navigate, and we want to navigate into the country screen. Now navigation is going to be imported inside here as a prop, or rather destructured as a prop. Navigation. Now you might be wondering, where does it come from? Well, because we installed React Navigation, we automatically get access to this prop in every top level screen. Meaning, for every screen that we're going to have inside here, every screen that is rendered is going to have access to this navigation prop. Okay, so that's how we're getting the navigation. And we can say navigation.navigate. Now navigate is the method, and then we're navigating, can speak, into a page that is called country, or rather a screen. It is a screen in React Native. Now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to test this out. And so I'm going to say that right here, let me go ahead and press the first one, and come on, press. There we go. Look at that. We are navigating into the country page. And now look at something very interesting about React Native, or rather about React Navigation. When we go into an internal screen, it automatically gives us a back button. That's quite interesting. I mean, it's quite nice, right? So if I press on the back button, I go back. And if I go to another screen, I can click on this, Nigeria, and we'll go into the country screen. Now, obviously, this is going to be dynamic depending on whatever screen that we're taking a look at. But for now, we can see that our functionality is working. So that is quite nice. That is quite nice. So now what I want to do is this. I want to go ahead and say that I want to pass in this object that we get back. I want to go and pass it in to the country component when we navigate to it. So the way we do that is we just go right here, place a comma, and say pass in the country, because country is the object that we get back. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then instead of country component, because we are passing this because we're passing the country object inside this component, then what I can do is I can go ahead and destructure what is called route. Now if I destructure the route, I can go ahead and console.log the route, and then save it. And then when I take a look at this, it says that we are navigating to a route that is called country, and then a bunch of seemingly useless stuff, and then getting the name of country, params of undefined, path of undefined. Okay, now if I go ahead and console.log route.params, now look at what we're going to get back. It is undefined. And you know what? I did not expect it to be undefined. I expected to at least show some kind of data for the country. But anyway, let's just go ahead and remove this for now. And then what we're going to do inside here is we want access to the navigation prop as well. So navigation, and then we also want to get the route. Now inside here, once again, we're going to render the safe area view. So safe area view. And safe area view, by the way, is coming from React Native, because there's another one that comes from React Native safe area view. Now we don't want that one. We are using the one from React Native. And then inside here, I'm going to say give it a style of styles dot container. And then let me go ahead and create the style. So const styles is equal to style sheet dot create. And then we also need to go ahead and render the scroll view. So scroll view from React Native. And then inside here, we're going to render a view. And the first view is going to have the image. And this comes from React Native. So the source for this is going to say, pass in our URI. and then it's going to say route, and actually not, I'm doing something wrong. I am doing something wrong because we need to send a GET request to the API. Let me see. We need to send a GET request to the API so that we can get the name of the country that we currently click on. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go ahead and let me see. Let me just open this part up because that is going to suffice. So let me copy this link, and then inside here, let's go ahead and say create our state values called country, now singular, and set country. And then this is going to be equal to useState, and then import it from React useState, and by default it's just going to be empty. And then I'm going to say use effect, import it from React as well. And then I'm going to say this, add an empty dependency array, and then I'm going to say async function get country. Okay, let's remember to call it so get country. So I'm going to say this. We're going to say add in a try catch block, and then console.error, the error that we're going to have, and then I'm going to say const response is equal to await, and we're going to be fetching, await fetch, and then paste in our link here, and then const data is equal to await response.json, and then set country into the data that we're going to get back. Okay, so that now we can go ahead, and this is not going to be like this, but now let me disable this for a moment. And now let me just render some text here, some text, really. So some text, let's just say Lauren 20, and then let's see, let me save that just to make sure that nothing is broken. Okay, so style sheet doesn't exist, we need to import it. So import style sheet, there we go, save it. Okay, so our component is working, right? Our component is working. So what I can do here is this. I can go ahead and say console log country. So console log our state value basically after we fetch our data to see whether we're getting anything. So let's see. Okay, look at that. So we're getting back a bunch of data, right? We're getting back a bunch of data, and we're getting back data for Estonia, because that is the GET request that we're sending inside here for Estonia. So if I change this to Kenya, then we should be able to get back a bunch of data. Where are you? Is it not working? Save it, reload, trying to look for, still showing Estonia. Let's reload. Okay, so I reloaded this. Now let's try it again. Let's go into the country, and it's console logging undefined. Okay, I think that should be correct, right? I think it should be correct. Let me hope it's correct. Okay, so let's do this. Now we need to make this dynamic because I don't want to render the this hard-coded thing. I need it to be dynamic depending on whatever route that we're on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say we're going to append our route.params.name.common. Is that the correct one? Because we need to go into route.params. So we need to access the params and then get the name.common, because that is what we are getting inside here for the name of the country. So let's save that. Let's see what we're going to have. What do we have? Is anything working on the screen? Nothing. Oh, you know what? There's a simpler way I can test this out. I can just say inside here, just render route.params.name.common. There we go. So we are logging Nigeria. If I go back and go to the first one, then we should see tax. Okay, there we go. There we go. And that actually means that this is working as well. I mean, I hope so. Wait, why is this thing confusing me so much? Is it because it's night time? Anyway, so below this, let's just copy this down, and then I want to go ahead and render route.params.flags.alt. And now we need to check whether this exists, because if it doesn't exist, it's going to break our application. It's going to break it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out, and then I'm going to say that when route.params.flags.alt exists, that's when I want to render this, and then save it, and then that should now not break our application. And then above this, we can now render the URI, and the URI is going to say route.params.flags.png, and then the style for this is going to be styles.image, and these styles we can just copy the styles for the previous page. So the flag here, oh, it's called flag, not image, styles.flag, just to be a bit consistent. Then we can paste in our styles here. Let's save it, and there we go. So we're getting our image, and I can increase this to about maybe 300, maybe. No, let's just work with 200. There we go. Now I want to go inside the safe area view. Oh, I already gave it the styles of container. So for the style of container, what I want to do is this. I'm going to say, first of all, I need the background color to be white. And then notice that it only comes up to here, right? If I wanted to span the entire page or the entire height of your device, then I can change the flex to 1, and that is going to make it span all the way to the bottom. And you know what, it is prudent for me to do the same thing here. Let me just do the same thing here, flex 1, even though the previous page is big enough where you don't even notice the effect of this, but it is still prudent that you have it. Now another thing that I need to do is I need to add padding on the left and right so that the image doesn't go all the way to the end. So I'm going to say padding horizontal, and then I'm going to set this to 16 just to push it inwards a bit. There we go. And then I'm going to give this a style of styles.heading, and then for this text I'm going to say style is equal to styles.text. And you know what, it's going to be the same styles as this one. So let me just copy these styles, copy and paste them here. And by the way, in case you're wondering, there is a way that you can add global styles in React Native, but I'm not covering it in this application. So when you build another app, I'm going to cover it in that one. So let's change this to name. Let's change this to styles .name instead of .heading. And there we go. Okay. Now I want to go into Nigeria because it has some text here that I can use. I want to use that text. Now for me, that text is a bit too small now. So let me increase the font size to 16 because I think it's like 14 by default. I think so. And line height here, because we've increased the font size, we can increase the line height to 28 to make it just a bit more readable. And then once you have that, then we want to render the coat of arms. So for the coat of arms, we're going to do the following. I'm going to say, I'm going to copy this image actually. Just copy this image, paste it here. And then I'm going to copy this one and paste it here. And then instead of this rendering some data from the API, I'm just going to say coat of arms. So coat of arms. Now inside here, we want to render what? What is it in the API? Where's the coat of arms in the API? Let me just get it. So coat of arms right here, .png. So route.params.coat-of-arms, coat-of-arms.png. Now I'm going to save this, and you can see that we are displaying it correctly. Now, if you go into a country that doesn't have a coat of arms, then this is going to break. So once again, we need to go ahead and add in a check, and we're going to check for the route.params.coat-of-arms.png exists. And then if it does exist, then we want to render our image. So there we go. That's looking much better. Now, In the previous application, you noticed that I did not have this top bar, right? I did not have it, and I did not have this bar as well in our homepage. So let's go ahead and remove them. The way we do that is we just go into app.js, and inside app.js we can add in a bit of props from Stack Navigator, where I can say I can pass them in as screen options. Now screen options defines options that are going to apply for every screen that you're going to have in application. If you don't want to define the options here, then you can go ahead and inside each individual screen you can pass in options and then define your options inside there. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and say header shown and set this to false, because I don't want the header to be shown. Now when I save that, then it's going to disappear in 3, 2, 1. There we go. So it disappears. Now once it disappears, we encounter something. Now look at this. The content is going behind the what's it called, the status bar. Now in order to fix that, then what I can do is I think it should be inside the scroll view, or is it? So inside the scroll view there is a prop that is called content container style. Now content container style just defines a bit of styles that you can add just to push a content up or down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add padding vertical, and I'm going to set this to about 32 so that it pushes away from our status bar. Now let this reload. There we go. So a padding top of 32 makes it push away from our status bar, right? And by the way, you know what, I need to test for the bottom as well, but I don't want to scroll 250 countries, right? So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to say set countries into data.splice, and I want to get the first 5 items, so 0 to 5, so that I can just scroll 5 items instead of scrolling 250 of them, right? So let's see. There we go. So 5, and you can see that even on the bottom, if I were to go ahead and remove this, then what you'll notice is now it goes completely to the bottom. Now as it stands, and we need to fix this for this page as well, as you can see, as it stands, this is usable, but I don't like it. So let me just add in the padding vertical of 32, meaning padding on the top as well as on the bottom of 32 for the content container. Now let me go ahead and copy the styles, and then inside the country.js, I'm going to paste them inside my scroll view right here. And then I also need to add the shows horizontal scroll indicator and set this to false, because I don't want to show a scroll indicator when I'm in the internal page. Now something else that I want to change is this. See how whether I'm going back, I'm clicking my back button and it looks as though like it's fading out, right? Now I think the behavior is different on iOS. I think it slides in by default, but on Android it fades in and it fades out. So I want to go ahead and change that default fading in and fading out thing. I don't like it. So what I'm going to do is this. Therefore, inside screen options, I'm going to say gesture enabled, and then I'm going to set this to true, meaning enable gestures, meaning I can scroll in from the left or from the right, and it's going to like go back or why is this getting so hard to explain? Meaning I can scroll in like from the left, whether I'm in an internal page. When I scroll in from the left, then it's going to take me back. And then what I'm going to say is it's called gesture direction, and then I'm going to set this to horizontal because I want it to like slide in from the left or from the right. And then I'm going to say it's called animation, and animation I'm going to set this to slide from left. And you know what, once I have this, I don't think I need this, so I can remove this and then save it. Now once it reloads, look at this. If I go into an internal page now, it scrolls in, okay, you know what, not from the left but from the right. Scroll in from the right. So I want it to scroll in from the right. Oops, I closed it down. Let's open it up. There we go. So scrolling from the right, there we go. And if I go back, There we go. Nice, nice, nice. I think that is a much better animation for me on Android. I like it much, much better. Now, let's go ahead and remove this so that we get all the countries that we want. So all the countries, there we go. And then what we need to do is the internal page still has some bit of issues. Still has, why isn't this clicking? Okay, there we go. The internal page still has a bit of issues. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go inside, where is it? Inside right here. And instead of this being 32, because I think I added some extra padding somewhere, I think it's this one that is making the homepage look much better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase this to about maybe like 52, just to make it a bit bigger. There we go. Now I noticed something. For the countries that don't have a coat of arms, I don't want this text to render. So what I'm going to do is I need to cut this out and then paste it inside here, but it's going to break because this is a return statement, and in React you can only return one element for every return statement. So I'm going to cut this out and then return a fragment instead, and that is going to fix it. So for the countries that don't have a coat of arms, if I can find one for demonstration, such as this one, you can see that the coat of arms, the text that says coat of arms does not show. Okay, so once you have that, then let's go ahead and add in our custom header, because we need our custom header on the top and on the bottom. So inside the country right here, I'm going to go ahead and say add in a view, and this view is going to have two items. It's going to have some text. I know it's not even some text. It's first of all an icon here that is an icon that shows the back button, and then it's going to have another text here that says the name of the country. So I'm going to say route.params.name.common. There we go. Common has double M. And then inside here, let's go into Expo vector icons. So Expo vector icons, and then let's search for a back button here. So back, and we can use this one, but this looks, I tried it out and it looks ugly for me, even this one. So let me use this one, ion icons or ion icons. And then let's go ahead, let's import it on top. Let's copy this to render out our icon right here. And then for this one, I'm just going to add the styles internally. So I'm going to say what's it called? Align items to the center, and then flex direction. What's it called? Justify content to space between. And then when I save that, then we should be able to see something appear on the top right around here. And look at where it is. It is much more on the top. So the reason why it's quite on the top right there is because it is outside of the scroll view, and the scroll view has a padding of 52. So let's place it inside the scroll view. There we go. So that now it's going to appear right there. Okay. Now let's change the flex, the what's it called? Flex direction. So flex direction, I'm going to set this to row, and there we go. That is much better. Now for this one, I'm going to style this out as follows. So I'm going to say style is equal to the following styles, but without the margin. So copy and paste it. Where is it? Paste it here, but without the margin. So save it, and there we go. I know maybe I can reduce this to about maybe like 20. Just make it a bit smaller. That is looking nice. Now we need the pressable component on the back button, so that when I press it, then it actually goes back. So instead of just rendering the icon here, I'm going to cut this out and then render the pressable component and then the icon, and then inside here I'm going to say on press. Then I'm going to get access to my navigation. So navigation, and then I'm going to say navigation dot go back. So basically just go back to the previous page, so that when I press it, then it goes back to the previous page, and we have that. That is looking nice. Now look at this. I want to add some bit of margin bottom here, margin bottom of about maybe like 32, just to push it away from this text, right? And you know what? Oh, now look at this. Now we have introduced a scroll bar. Look how ugly it is. See, you see that scroll bar? And you know what, this should not be horizontal, this should be vertical. And did I do the same mistake here? This is not horizontal, this is vertical. This should be shows vertical because I don't want the vertical scrolling indicator. You can see that now it has disappeared. And the same for the previous page. Really, there we go. There we go. Now I want to reload this just to be on the safe side, just to see whether my status bar is going to have issues. The status bar, we are not rendering inside here, but I want to render it below the stack navigator. So I'm going to say render my status bar, and for this one I'm going to say that the style is going to be dark. Oh, sorry, come on, it should be a string dark, so that it actually shows the actual thing is, because if I set this to light, then we're not going to be able to see our status bar. So set it to dark so that we're able to see our status bar. And then let's see what we have. We are showing Taiwan and so on and so forth. Now I just remembered something. So I'm searching for Oman or Romania, if I can find it somewhere, because I want to show you something. I want to show you a kind of bug. So here's Oman, right? Now look at this. I'm clicking on Oman, right? So let me click on it and then see what happens. It shows Oman, but oh, it's did they fix it? Let me search for Romania. Let me search for Romania. Romania. So here's Romania. So when I click on it, then it shows Romania, and I guess it's just me then. So what I wanted to show you is Romania and Oman have the same letters. So Oman, Romania, and Oman have the same letters. So when I was testing this out, I clicked on Romania and it was showing me results for Oman, because when we are sending this GET request to the country here, we're not specifying it to have to search for like the actual text, the full text of the country. But you can set that. If you take a look at the API, you can set full name, full text to true, so that you actually search for the correct country. So just to be on the safe side, I want to go ahead and add this part. So copy this and then add it. Come on, add it to the end of this. So just plus and then add in my string here. So full text to true, meaning only search for that particular country that corresponds to the one that you click on. Now I need to create our search bar, and our search bar is going to be on the home page. So scroll back to the top, to the top, to the top. Now on the top, we're going to go ahead and say this. Inside my scroll view, I'm going to create another view, and this view is going to have what is called a text input. Now text input is the equivalent of input in React.js for the web. Now for the text input, we're going to go ahead and render two new state values, or rather one new state value, and this is just going to say text and set text. This is going to be equal to useState, and by default it's just going to be an empty string. Now I'm going to go ahead and import this from React Native, and then I'm going to set the placeholder to search for a country, and then the styles for this is going to come from styles.input. Now let me save that so that we see what we have on the screen, and then we can style it out. So right around, you can do here. So for the input, it's still not showing up. Still not showing up. Why not? Why are you not showing up? The text input is not showing, or does it need to have styles like the image? Let me see. Let's set the width to 100%, and then let's set the padding vertical to 8 and the padding horizontal to 16. Let's set the border radius to 30. Let's set the border width to 2. Let's set the border style to solid, and then let's set the border color to hashtag, let's say 999. Save it. What we have on the screen, input. Why is it not showing? What? Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm in the wrong component. I am in the wrong, so it's probably showing inside here. Yeah, it's really, I'm in the wrong component or the wrong page. So we need this to show inside this scroll view. So right before our grid, and then let's get the styles out as well from here. Get them from here. Save it, and then let's place them right around below the container. Save it. And now we should be able to see our, oh, this is going to break because text input is not imported here. So control spacebar and then import it, save it, and then let's remove the import from here because we're not using it in this component. There we go. So we have our input, right? And then for this, I'm going to say give this a style of, and I'm going to say padding horizontal of 16. I think I had 16. Padding horizontal of 16. And then I'm going to say padding top of about 32 to push it downwards. Let's see. It's going to reload in a moment anyway. And then what we need to do is we need to have something similar to this. We need to have something similar to this view and this principle. So this entire view really. So cut it out, or rather copy, don't cut it out, copy it. And then inside our countries, right above this view, so right below the scroll view, we're going to paste this in, but we're not going to be rendering this. Instead, we're just going to say all countries, and then we don't need the back icon because obviously we're on the home page, and that therefore means that what? I think that should be it. Let's save it. Let's see what I have on the screen once it reloads. Okay, so we have all countries, but now I don't want this margin bottom because it's kind of redundant, but I do want maybe a margin top. So margin top, set this to about 32 to push it downwards, and then give it a padding on the left of 16 to push it inwards so that it is on the same edge as everything else. And that therefore means that I can reduce this to about 20 so that the space is not that much. Okay, so search for a country. That's looking nice. Now the way we do this in React Native is we need a value here, and the value is going to be for our state value. Okay, it's still in this component because I did everything inside here. So cut this out. And I just realized that perhaps we don't need any of this. Perhaps we don't even need the use effect. I don't think we're using this anywhere, so I think we can safely remove this. I think we can safely remove that. If anything breaks, then my bad. But inside here, I was getting our state values for text and set text. So I'm going to say that the value is going to be equal to the text, and then in the web we have onChange, but in React Native it's called onChange text. And inside here, I'm going to say that I want to get the text and then set it equal to set, and then I'm going to say set text equal to text dot target dot value. I think that's it. And you know what? This is not correct. This should just say text, and then probably I can say something at to lowercase, so that it converts anything that you type to lowercase, because the API searches in lowercase. I mean, it does search when you're in uppercase as well, but lowercase is much better, I think. And then we're going to add another event here called on submit editing, and this is going to equal to a function called handle search. And on submit editing is important here because we only want the function to execute when we are done editing everything inside here. I mean, when we are done typing. So let's go ahead and create this function. So right below this, and you know what, I can just go ahead and copy this use effect. So copy this use effect, and then below this, I'm going to say, let me say const search countries. It's not search country, it's handle search. I mean, I just called it right now. So handle search, and then this is going to be the function here as well. So handle search, and then we're going to say handle search, and this is going to go inside /name, and then we want to go ahead and append whatever we type in, and this is going to be the text. All right, let's see. So search that should be fine. And then we are no longer going to be getting the set countries, but we're going to get something called set results, which is a state value that we are going to create, and then set results into data. Okay, so handle search, and then this should now be fine. So let's go ahead and create our state value here. So I'm going to say const results and set results. This is going to be equal to useState, and by default it's going to be an empty array. Now the way we're going to do this is we're going to create a kind of like a toggle where when we are searching for, when we type inside this input, then it's going to render something else which is not this view. But when you don't type in, then it's going to like render this view, obviously. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to cut this out, and then I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that when results is true, meaning when we have searched for something, when we are submitted the form, when it is true, then I just want to render some text that says something like searching for now, right? And then when it is not true, then I want to render my other view. So let's save that, and then let's go ahead and try it out. It says handle search does not exist. Handle search, what did I call this? Handle what? Handle search. I mean, am I typing this wrong? Handle search. Handle search. I mean, really? Reload. Oh, you know what? I just noticed this. Because this function is inside a use effect, so we can't access it like this. So we need to place it outside of the use effect. So just grab this and then alt upwards, and then now it should be working. It should now work. So let's see whether it works. Loading, and there we go. Would you look at that? So it's showing searching, but that should not be true because we have not searched for anything yet. So if I negate this, if I say not searching is true, sorry, when I say not results is true, then it shows searching, and then the opposite. Okay, so now we are showing everything, and if I try to click on this, oops, my phone. Come on. So let's search for Rwanda. Let's search. Let's see what happens. Come on. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. So let me check the GET request that I'm sending to the API just to make sure that it is correct. So v3 /name for, oh, you know what? /name / /name / okay, / the text. That's what was missing. And then we don't need the full text here because, I mean, people don't usually, I mean, sometimes they don't search for the entire full name of the country or whatever they're searching for. So let's try again. Let's search. Does it search? Does it search? I mean, we should now be seeing searching on the screen, but nothing happens. So you know what? Let me do this. Instead of just rendering searching, then let me get this entire view. Let me copy this view, and then let me paste it here. And then this is now going to say results.map. So results.map, and then country, and then this is basically going to just remain the same. And I hope that is going to work. So let's save it. And now You know, let me just reload it to be on the side. What is this? What is this? Is really? No, exit. Control X, exit. Save modified buffer. No, don't save. And then reload. Okay, let's try it again. So we are showing all the countries. Let me search for Kenya. Is it really searching? It's not searching. Oh, wait a minute. It searched. Huh. Let me search for, what did I search for? Rwanda? Oh, it's searching. Okay, not. I removed the negation here, so it just says results instead of not results. So let me search for what? Burkina Faso. And oh, it's searching. And then when I click on it, then it goes to the page. Okay. Okay, so it's working. I thought it wasn't working. Anyways, so that is that, right? Now, before we can end this, we need to go ahead and do a few things. The first thing is I need to go ahead and open up Figma so that I can begin designing the splash screen and so on and so forth. So I can close this down and then let me open up Figma. And as Figma is opening, by the way, something interesting that you can do is we can go ahead and render what we type in inside the text, right? Inside the all countries. Now, instead of just showing all countries, because now when you search for something, we are not showing all countries, right? So what I can do is I can just cut this out and say that when results is true, then I want to render some text that says the text that we type in, which is our state value. And then when it is false, then we just render the other text that says all countries, because that means that we are showing all the countries. And then let's copy these styles here, paste them there, and then now there we go, right? And probably I can say something like text transform, and then set this to capitalize so that the first letter is always capital. I think that is a much better UI. Now Figma should have opened. Now look at this. Let me place this full screen. Now look at this. I've created some, what's it called? Some splash screens and some icons, right? I've created some of them, but I used the specifications that are inside here. So for example, for the adaptive icon, it's like what, 1024 by 1024. So that's basically this one. And then the favicon is 48 by 48, which is this small one. And then we have the icon here .png, which is 1024 by 1024 as well, which is this other one. And then we have the splash screen, which is 1284 by 2778, which is this huge one. So I just use these specifications because that is what it comes bundled with Expo. So I guess that would be a nice like adaptive for every device that is going to be viewing your application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create all of them. So I'm going to just, it's just easier if I do that. So this first one, once again, this first one is 1248 by 2778. And then the second one is 1024 by 1024, and then 1024 by 1024 for the adaptive icon, and then 48 by 48 for the favicon. Now the favicon here, we are not really going to use it unless we are on building for the web. But in this case, we're not building for the web, so we don't even really need to have our favicon. So let me just shut this down. And then what I'm going to do is this. I don't want to render this. I can just cut this out. Oops. I can cut it out here. There we go. And then I can duplicate this. And then this one is just a shrinked up version of this. So that doesn't really matter all that much. So I can actually just remove it for now. And then what I want to do is this. The app is not going to have a blue color. So it's going to be white by default. But I want it to have like some kind of icon in the middle, which is like a flag. So inside my plugins, I have a plugin that is called Iconify. So let me just search inside here if I can get an icon of a flag or something. So let me search for flag. And really, these look bad. Let me search for country. Yeah, we can use this. This looks this looks quite nice actually. So import icon, and we're importing it here. Let me just drag and drop it, bring it inside here, make it bigger. Really? Wait, what? A splash screen inside a splash screen? No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let me duplicate this again. Okay. Let's move that. Let's move that. Oops. What? Really? Okay. So let's change this to white. Let's get iconify again. Let's get the country icon. Let's import it. Where is it? It's here. There we go. Make it bigger. Scale it up. Come on. Scale it up. Right around something like that. Oops. I want this top part. Come on. Somewhere there. I can place it somewhere there. And then what I can do is change this color. I mean, it's white by default. I want the internal color now. This one. Change this from black to like a bluish, like a dark blue, as you can see. Like a dark blue. And then we can add in some text here that says all countries. And then make it bold, make it bigger. And let me just say all countries data. My mouse wheel is really crying. I don't know whether it's going to be captured in the audio, but when I'm scrolling, this is how it sounds. Okay, so let's change this. Let's center this properly right here. Come on, come on, really, come on, center. I'm getting okay. Not there are rulers here. There, I mean, don't have access to the rulers. Really. I forgot the command to activate rulers in Figma. Okay, let's move this aside. It's annoying. Then let's center this. There we go. Then let's move this back to the center as well. Ah, come on. Okay, it's centered. It's centered right. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is annoying me. This is annoying me. Come on, center. Come on, center. There we go. Oh my god, that really it was taking it all. And then we can change this text to be blue, like so. So this is going to be our splash screen. And then for this, for our adaptive icon, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag and drop this splash screen. Just drag and drop it here, duplicate it, and then we don't need this really, but for our icon, what I'm going to do is, come on, just get this one, drag it here, and then just shrink this down to about 48 by 48. So 48 by 48, not 47, 48. There we go. Now let's go ahead and export these. So export as PNG images, export splash screen. So I'm exporting it inside my assets folder, and I'm going to call it splash.png just because I don't want to rename all these files. So splash.png, replace it, and then this is going to be the icon. So let me export icon as well, icon.png, replace, and then once again export it again, but now it's going to be the adaptive icon. So export, replace, and then this is going to be the favicon. So get this and export once again, and export, and it's going to be called favicon.png, and save it and replace. And there we go. So once you have that, we can close out Figma, and then if I take a look at our adaptive icon, you can see that now it has updated to all this, right? That is looking nice. Now look at this. I think it's going to work even if I don't shut down my server, but let me try and reload it and take a look whether it's going to update for our splash screen. So let me place this back here and then reload, and okay, nothing happened. So let's shut down our server so that it takes the assets once again, and then let's say npm start. Okay, let's try and reload this. It's still picking up. I mean, probably I'll have to shut down Expo. So let me try and restart this. I mean, it still doesn't show our app icon, but we have updated them. Okay, we have updated it, and then I don't think there's anything else that we're going to be doing for this application. So let's just go ahead and begin building it. Now, in order to build it, let me just shut this down and then let me place this to be full screen. In order to build it, what we're going to do is we need to go ahead and let me first of all stop my recording for this. So you need to go ahead and register with Expo for an account. So expo.dev is the link. And then once you do that, then we can go ahead and say what is the command? EAS build, and I'm building for a profile here called preview, and then the dash platform. The platform that I'm building for is Android. Now I can also build for iOS, but I don't have an Apple ID, so that's why I'm not building that. So just run this command, and then let's just wait a few moments for it to help us through the steps. So just loading. It's a bit slow today. Okay, so it says it is not configured. So I usually just say yes for all these steps because it doesn't really matter that much even if you change them. So application ID, that is okay. Using remote Android key store, yes. And of course, if you're not logged into Expo, then it's going to prompt you to log in first, okay? But I'm already logged in, so that's why it skipped that step. And there we go. So it uploads it to Expo, and then now all you need to do is just wait for this to finish building. And you can see that this is the build. So if I try to open this up, so open. If I open this up, then it's going to take me into Expo Dev into my account. And you can see that it is now building this, and I'm in the free tier, so I have to wait for a few more moments. But it's going to be building this application inside here. And then once it is finished, then I'm just going to, I don't need to notify me. But once it is finished, then it's going to have an install button right here. And the install button is just basically a link for this. It's just going to be a link to this where you can get your APK, your Android file that you can download and install on your device. So I'm going to let this finish, and hopefully it doesn't take too long because it is 11 a.m. and I need to wake up early tomorrow. And so there we go. So our build is starting. So if I go ahead and reload this, then we should actually it's right there. So it's pinning up our build environment, and then it's going to build our application. And on average, I've seen this take about 7 to 10 minutes, and it can take as much as 30 minutes sometimes if I think the resources are few or something like that. But it's usually about 7 to 10 minutes on average. So I'm just going to wait that time, and hopefully we're going to build our application that we can then download and install it. So let's just wait. And would you look at that? So it has finally finished. And once it's done, obviously you get another QR code. And when you scan this using your phone, if you're on iOS, or Expo Go if you're on Android, then it automatically gives you the application. Now, another alternative is you can just copy this link, and when you open this link, it's going to take you into the Expo website. And then when you click on install, that is if you're on mobile, then you can download the APK and install it on your application, and it's going to behave like a native application. So what I want to do is, I don't want this to run on an emulator, so I'm going to say no, and it's going to exit. But I want to go ahead and scan this QR code using Expo Go, and then I should be able to see it on my mobile device. Why not? Let me just screen record because I forgot to do that. Okay, so screen recording right now, and then scan QR code. Let's see, come on. Right. there, and it takes me to the website, and then you can see that we have a bunch of details, but I have the install button right here. So when I click on install, then I should be able to get this one. So install just once, which is going to download it. So there we go. So download, and then download anyway, because we know who has built that up, obviously. So it doesn't have any malware. So once it's done, you can see it's this one right here. So you can just open it, and you can see the favicon right there. I mean, this is not the favicon really, but the icon, the app icon. I should have made it a bit smaller so that it fits properly, but you can see that it updated even though we were not seeing it in our demo app. So it says, do you want to install? And I'm going to say install. So in the process of installing, it says unsafe app. That's because it's not on Play Store, but you can just click the drop down and say install anyway, and then just wait for it to finish. And there we go. So app installed. Now when I say open, then we should see our splash screen right there, even for a moment. And okay, once again we see our splash screen, and then loading. When it does that, I think we have an error in our application. We probably have an error because it should not do that. So you can see that when we install it, the app appears right here. It appears right there, and when I open it, it shows the splash screen, and then that, and then goes back to the splash screen. So I think we have an error in our application. We might have a bug, and the way I'm looking at it, the issue might be right inside our filter. So there's something that we're doing wrong in the filter. There might be something we're doing wrong in the filter. And come to think of it, it's probably this, maybe styles results.map, then countries.map. I'm not sure what could be the issue. But you know what? I'm going to figure it out, and then I'm going to append it to the end of this video. So yesterday when we were building our app, I mean, okay, it's yesterday for me, but it's going to be the same video for you. We found out that when we installed it on our device, then we were not able to view anything. And you know what? I'm not recording, so I have to start again. Okay, now I'm screen recording my phone. So I was saying, we found out that we were not able to view our application at all because it was breaking. And the reason why it was breaking at around, it was saying something like results. Let me get it. It was saying results.map is not a function. Usually when that happens, it means that we are doing something wrong somewhere. And so what I did is I found out the problem was in our submit function. I mean, one of the problems was in our submit function. So you will notice that I had my function here called handle search, but I've changed it to handle submit. Now, if you take a look at our function, it's right here. So it says async function handle search, and nothing has changed inside here, except that now instead of just console logging the error, I have changed it to show an alert. So a small alert window that says something went wrong and seems like there's no such country in the world. And then it's going to show a button called close, which when you press on it, it's going to close the alert button. Now, when you're using this component, make sure that you import it from React Native on top. And then another thing that I've changed is now this is no longer an empty array. It is now just an empty. It's just empty, you know, because for some reason, which I don't fully understand still, if I change this to an empty array, then the app breaks. But if I remove the empty array, then it works. I think that has something to do with the API itself, because if I take a look at this, and if I go into /name/Kenya, for example, then I think I mean, we are getting back an array, but I don't know why it doesn't work. So I just noticed that when I remove the empty array here, then it works. And what else? I'm trying to check what else I changed. Oh yeah. So I created another function called handle submit, which is now the submit function for the input. And then I'm just calling the handle search function inside here. So the handle search function is this one right here. And I think I set it inside a use effect. It is now no longer inside a use effect. And I think that is the only change rather the only changes that I made. And now I'm going to test out my search function once again. So I'm going to search for a country here, and I was searching for Rwanda yesterday. So let's search, and it takes a while to search. I think it's because of my internet speed or something, but sometimes it takes a while to search. And there we go. So it searches for Rwanda, and then notice that the text here is in small. That is because when we are searching in this function, where is it? I'm trying to find it right here. So text.to lowercase. So that's why it's in lowercase. And you'll notice that when I click on it, when I click on any of the searches here, then we get the actual country, and then we can view more details about the country. And then of course, if you're going to search for a partial name, so I'm going to search for something like Oman, for example. Oman should bring Oman and Romania. Yeah, Oman and Romania. So if you search for a partial name inside here, then it's going to search for all the names of the countries that have that partial name that you searched for, and it's going to render everything. So you can see that now we can view for Oman, and then we can also view for Romania. So that is looking okay. Now, one thing that I do want to do is, you will notice that if I go back to an empty string inside here, then we can no longer see all the countries. So what I want to do is, inside my results that I'm rendering, which should be, the results are here. So inside this view, but outside of the map, so right below these brackets, I want to render a pressable component, which is going to be a button that is going to say refresh, so that when I click on the refresh button, then it just calls the original function to get countries, this one. So let's go ahead and say right here, let's create a pressable component. So pressable, and then inside pressable, I'm going to say onPress is going to call the get countries function, and then close this out, and then the text inside here is going to say refresh. Now we have this function, but if you hover over this, it's going to tell you something like could not find get countries. That is because that function is inside of a use effect. So what we need to do is just essentially just drag this upwards and then call our function inside the use effect, but we still have access to this function which you can use inside our event called onPress. So I'm going to save that, and now our button should appear somewhere right on the bottom right there, right? So let's go ahead and style it out. I'm going to give this pressable a style of styles.button container, and then the text, I'm just going to say style is equal to styles.button text. Then let me go to the bottom here. Let me just go ahead and say button container, and then I'm going to say give it a background color of hashtag 333, and then give it a width of 100%. Let's say that. Okay, there we go. Let's give it a padding vertical, so on the top and bottom, of about 8, a padding horizontal of 16. Let's give it a border radius of 10. Let's go ahead, save that. Okay, I think this is a bit too small, maybe let's do 12. And then let's go inside the button, and for the button I'm going to change the text color to white, and then change the font size to 16. Save it, and we're going to have, also this should say button text. There we go, there we go. Now inside button container, let me add a margin on the horizontal, so margin horizontal of about 16 to push it inwards just a bit. And not, that should not do it, that should not do it. Instead of setting this to 100%, let me just set it to 90%. But then I'm going to go ahead and say align item center. So align items center, and then justify content to the center. And then you know what I just realized? These classes, so the background color and what I think all of these classes really should be inside the button text. They should be inside button text. There we go. There we go. And then inside here, I can as well say align item center, and then justify content to the center. That is going to place the text to the center or not really. Then I can just say text align center. Text align center. What? Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. And now this width of 90% is ugly. So let me just say width of 300. I think that's much better. That is much better. So there is our button. And then let me just see this. I added the on press. So get countries. Okay. So now if I click on refresh, then we should be able to get all our countries once again. So refresh. And nothing. Refresh. Is it searching? Is it searching at all? Let me go inside get countries function. Inside get countries function, let me just go right here. Not, let me go below this. Let me say console.log and let me say pressed. And then let's check our console. So pressed is here, and then refresh. So pressed, it is working, but we are not getting the data back. Oh, you know what? I know the reason. It's because in our filter, we are saying that when results is true, then we want to render the results. Meaning when we call this function again, we need to set results back to empty. So that will mean that inside here, we are going to say set results back to empty, so that it goes back to its initial value, so that this doesn't render. So that now I can go ahead and say this, set results back to and then set countries. Okay, so save it. And then now let's try it again. Oop, my app's broken. Okay, let's open the console. Let's say refresh. There we go. Looking nice. Now I think that is going to be the end. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and deploy this to GitHub. So I'm going to go inside my repositories, and then I'm going to say new repository, and then I'm going to say react -native countries -app. Okay, and by the way, I've just remembered to mention, because we already built this out, I showed you how to make a build of your application so that you can share the link and people can download it and install it on their device. Because we shipped something that was already broken, so we're going to have to need to build it again. So basically just go through the command of EAS build and then platform and then all that, and then just build it again, and then you're going to get a new link which you can then download. But then if you already have it on your mobile device, if you install the previous version, then it's going to ask you to update it instead of to install it. So that's pretty handy to have. But I'm not going to do that because I already showed you the build step, so I don't want to redo the build step. So let me shut this down, and then I think I can paste this to be full screen. Let me just copy this link here, and then let me go ahead and begin to deploy this. So close this. So I'm going to say this. What did we install in package.json? We install React navigation. Okay. So git add package star and git commit. I'm going to say install React navigation. And then git add eas.json. What's in this file? This should be the version and Let me say git commit, and I'm going to just say eas.json file. And then git add app.json and git commit, and I'm going to say update app icons, and then git add app.js git commit. I'm going to say entry file, or I did not, let me just say setup React navigation, and then git add screens git commit -m, and I'm going to say app screens, and then git add assets and git commit, and I'm going to say -m update app icons, and then git remote add origin, and then paste in our link, and then git branch -m main, and then git push -u origin main, and that should now push it to our remote repository on GitHub, which you can then find here. So when I reload this, and there we go. So this is our application, and you can see I began it yesterday, but then when it failed on the build step, when it was not showing our actual application, then I went to sleep. So this is literally 24 hours later, I mean almost 24 hours later, that now I have now fixed this. So it's okay to take breaks when you're stuck on something, you know, it happens to the best of us. But that is going to be the end of the video, and please subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and like the video and share it out with your friends, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.